Good afternoon, everybody. It is 12 p.m. Eastern here. I'm just going to give it about a minute or two more for everybody to make get an opportunity to join, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome, welcome. One more time, just giving everybody another minute or two to go ahead and join. I know we got about 13 people that joined in the past 1 minute, so give another minute and see if we have a few more people hop in. If anybody has anything super interesting they want to put in the chat, just maybe something that's going on today while we're waiting, feel free to. Encourage everybody to discuss things amongst yourselves. All right, I've seen about 4 or 5 more people have joined, so just as a heads up, we'll give it 1 more minute. So at 12:03 Eastern, we'll go ahead and get started. Just as a heads up, I'd like to share a quick tidbit for everybody before we jump in as well. Throughout the presentation today, I will be monitoring the chat. So if you have any questions, feel free to type it in the chat, use the raise hand feature, or even come off mute and chime in as you feel necessary. We're expecting plenty of conversation, discussion, open time for that as well. So feel free to jump in wherever necessary. Awesome, and the time is 12:03, so we'll go ahead and get started. Before I hand it over to our presenter, Brian, today, I'd like to give him a short introduction. So Brian Schmidt is our Laboratory Operations Director and Program Manager here at NCDMM. Since joining in 2013, Brian has been a driving force in advanced manufacturing initiatives and optimizing manufacturing processes. With a background spanning from design and product development to installation and service, Brian brings a wealth of experience in manufacturing strategy, process optimization, and technical leadership, and will be utilizing these experiences for today's presentation on manufacturing readiness assessments. Brian, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you very much, Zane. So first and foremost, I appreciate everybody dialing in. I'm interested in providing a high-level understanding and at least enough information on where you can dive into MRAs or manufacturing assessments for your specific product, for your specific manufacturing facilities and what have you. So feel free, as Zane stated, feel free to chime in and ask questions as you see fit. I will be pausing every 5 or 6 or 8 slides to provide time for questions. So if it's not of the utmost important and addressing a specific topic on a specific slide, if you can wait till then, that would be great. If not, it's not an issue to chime in. I encourage the discussion, as Zane had stated. So in the chat, raise hand feature, or just chime in. So first and foremost, just to jump right in, I'm like Kazane stated, I'm Brian Schmidt. I've been in manufacturing for about 30 to 35 years. So I do have some experience there, some exposure there. I've been in positions from design. I've been on the production floor, screwing things together, and as high up as, leadership positions within manufacturing. So with that being said, these are the topics we're going to cover today. I'll give you a brief overview of who NCDMM is and how we can help you, not necessarily something other than a phone call or providing information. It's just help you from a manufacturing perspective. We're going to then dive into the main topic, which is what is an MRA, and specifically and more importantly, what it is not. So we'll touch on some things that an MRA is not. And then these are 4 areas that I typically have discussions on when conducting an MRA or when I'm talking to manufacturers. So we're going to touch on how MRAs identify hidden opportunities for optimization in already successful processes, meaning, you're making payroll, you're doing the thing, you're making the quantities. How can we make it easier? How can we make it better? However we define better. Next, practical steps to increase efficiency, streamline workflows, and reduce costs. Costs never go down. Well, typically don't go down. So how to reduce cost, increase those margins for your products, increase your efficiencies, and streamline your operations. We can also give insight into, we'll give some insight into how we can provide strategic insight for proactively managing manufacturing risk and supply chain risk and supply chain dependencies. And then lastly, how to prepare your process, workforce, and facilities for growth and evolving industry demands. So let's encourage that proactive, forward-thinking mindset within your manufacturing operations. So let's jump right in. So NCDMM, first and foremost, our vision is to ensure the U.S. warfighter always has a superior advantage. Now, just to be clear, these are going to be DoD-centric slides here talking about NCDMM, but they all have the DoD and private industry have kind of parallel paths to where they can kind of rely on those optimization and things that we typically do in the DoD environment and DoD manufacturing are also applicable to commercial manufacturing. So our mission is we are an unbiased third party that can assist with developing, transitioning, and implementing manufacturing technology to the defense industrial base. And then first and foremost, we are a trusted, connected, experienced, and focused company associated with elevating the manufacture of the DoD industrial base. So I like this slide. This is kind of details where we operate. So NCDMM is positioned at the confluence of government, industry, and academia. So essentially, we assemble the optimal team to be able to provide manufacturing or manufacturing-based solutions to the DoD or commercial entities. So we are about 70 strong, and we utilize our relationships with industry, academia, and government to assemble the optimal team to go after the challenges that we may be faced with conversations with you. So we are highly collaborative. So in addition to those 3 entities, we have a list of what we call alliance partners who we have connected dots with. So there are about 200 to 250 of those folks now. It is a handshake arrangement. It is not a contractual deal. It is essentially we have established a relationship with those folks. We can pick up the call and have the conversation and kind of flesh out what solutions may look like, or what opportunities or manufacturing optimization may look like for a specific case, and then potentially put together a project, assemble a team, and go address that manufacturing challenge in the DoD or commercial space. So these are our 7 thrust areas at NCDMM. As you can see, manufacturing heavy, which is exactly where we cut our teeth when we stood the company up, or the company was stood up in 2003. So advanced manufacturing, additive manufacturing are different. Additive manufacturing, of course, we manage the Additive Manufacturing Institute of the United States. So we can, provide linkage for any one of these thrust areas for to your company or to, leaders in that arena to attempt to optimize your operation, optimize your manufacturing, just provide you the ability to do what you do better. And I'm not going to go into any one of these, just wanted to provide you a high level understanding of where we play, how we have made the DoD or DoD industrial base better, where we have injected optimization, where we have injected technology, development, all of those types of things. And then the next slide is more of those portfolio successes. So in addition to manufacturing, we provide training. We can improve readiness, like surge capacity, those types of things. Road mapping exercises to truly understand holistically your current state and the road that you need to travel, or the best road to travel to obtain your desired result or final outcome for your product and or manufacturing facility. Crisis response was born from COVID. Since we are so connected, we can spool up a team to address a crisis much quicker than most. And then assessments, and that's one of the things we'll be talking about today. Okay, the takeaway from the previous slides, I understand that was a lot. I went quickly kind of on purpose, but NCDMM has a vested interest in elevating U.S. manufacturing. So we have the perspective that all boats rise. If it is something that you are looking for a solution to a nagging problem within your manufacturing facility, call us, call me. We can potentially connect you with the individual that may be able to provide you guidance to solve that problem. Also, we are well connected in the manufacturing environment. So we can provide connection to resources and solution providers to get you to that next step, navigate those pitfalls associated with elevating or optimizing your manufacturing. And then we can assist with mitigation strategies associated with transition of your manufacturing. So with all of that being said, I know that was a lot. Are there any questions on how myself or NCDMM can assist you? Do you need any clarification on past products or, past projects associated with manufacturing and manufacturing optimization? I'll just pause there for a minute. Zane, just let me know if there's anything in the chat.
Absolutely, yeah. If anybody has any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Or if you want to come off mute and ask directly, Brian would be more than excited to have a direct conversation.
Just give it a little bit more of that uncomfortable silence.
Ooh, classic question, Brian. What is the relationship between NCDMM and America Makes?
So NCDMM manages America Makes. America Makes is essentially a program that is funded by the Air Force Research Labs. So it is essentially a program, not necessarily a division or an entity.
Exactly. Thanks, Brian.
No problem.
Yeah, and that's a consistent question that we get.
Glad to answer it.
I'm going to come off mute because, because some reason I can't put a note in the chat. How are you, Brian? It's Paul.
Hey, Paul. Hey, Paul. How are you? I recognize that voice. How can I help you today?
Thanks. So I thought it might be, I don't know, I don't want to take you too far off topic because I know we're talking about MRA, but I'm not sure that it wouldn't be appropriate to kind of connect MRA and TRAs.
So we will actually thank you for the segue. We'll be diving into that in a couple slides from now.
Thank you. Great.
Oh, you're more than welcome, and it's based upon previous conversations we had too. So thank you in advance for that, Paul.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. All right. If there's nothing else, we can dive right into the next section of slides.
Yep, we're good in the chat, so free to move on.
Perfect. All right, so I was developing this slide deck and it was very interesting because somebody was looking over my shoulder and said, wow, that's a very confusing slide. I said, I'm going to put that in there because I was developing some other slides. I am going to put that in there just to give a sense of this can be a very confusing process or a very overwhelming process. Now on the left, right under the what is an MRA, the Excel spreadsheet page that you see there, you can go out to mrldod.mil or dod.org. Anyway, MRA MRA mill or DOD MRA and get that Excel spreadsheet. A little overwhelming right at the top of the bat. So I just wanted to include this slide to say that it can be an overwhelming process, but it doesn't need to be. So with just probably going through this slide, you're going to get a better understanding of what the intended outcome is and just provide a little bit more understanding, provide a little bit of guidance associated with what an MRA is and all of the triangles and squares and different colors mean. So I wanted to include that slide just as a intentionally confusing slide.
Yeah, and if anybody is interested, I am the one that was looking over the shoulder and said, that looks crazy.
That is exactly right. So Zane helped me another section here. So what is an MRA? Originally, it was developed by the Air Force. They were having some issues with delivery and quality and all those types of things. Typically things that you see on the news, reduced delivery of aircraft, or they're having some issues getting aircraft created, those types of things. So they wanted to develop a process so they could go to assess manufacturers and get an understanding of where some of that risk may be early on in the process. The earlier you can identify the risk, the better off you will be. It is a part assembly agnostic assessment process. So physical products is another thing that Zane kind of pointed out and asked a question about. What about software development? I said, it doesn't work for software development. It's for physical products. So an MRA can be used as a communication tool to identify areas of manufacturing to where we can allocate resources or consider optimization. And we'll get into a scorecard later. It'll be very obvious what I mean by that. Provide awareness to funding resources. Not awareness of, but awareness to. So if we were soliciting work from the government, say, or even a private entity, the venture capitalist, something like that, if you showed them that you went through the assessment process, identified risk, you can easily communicate, Mr. Funding Agent, it will take this number of dollars in this amount of time to get me from an MRL 5, which is essentially the technology or manufacturing is at a kind of production prototype stage, to get me to a 7, which is leading into low rate production. It'll take this amount of time and money, right? And and then also provide mitigation strategies associated with getting you there. So being able to communicate that way just also promotes transparency to those folks that may be giving you money or time or what have you. And the MRA also, first and foremost, assigns a manufacturing readiness level, which indicates the level of maturity of the manufacturing capability. So also, what is an MRA? It identifies manufacturing risk, as I had mentioned previously, within a product. So just specifically, it's an assessment. And I have bolded and underlined an assessment intentionally because it is not an audit. This is not a shall do. This is a snapshot of current state of the manufacturing maturity of a product and being able to produce it to its intended design. So it is nuts and bolts. It is a collection of more than 600 questions that are answered yes or no in one of 9 manufacturing areas or threads. And we'll touch on those as we get into the slide deck here. So also it can be used as a tool to assist in development and next steps, like what should I be looking, forward thinking, forward looking, what does my manufacturing maturation look like? So manufacturing maturation plans or mitigation strategies can be developed in addition to business plans, can assist with business plans, meaning we understand capital expenditures that may be required to meet yields and rates and what have you with that forward-thinking perspective associated with an MRA or obtained through conducting an MRA. So, Paul, MRLs versus TRLs. So MRAs identify MRLs. but TRLs are a method of estimating the maturity of technologies utilized to manufacture a component or assembly. So TRLs leave major transition questions unanswered, such as, is the technology producible? Cost, manufacturing viability, or can it be easily created, the technology be easily created in a production environment? I'm sorry, can the part or assembly be created in a production environment utilizing that technology? And then there are supply chain considerations that are overlooked, such as material availability. Is there enough material globally to be able to create the thing that you're trying to create or manufacture? This is a graphical representation of the relationship between milestones A, B, and C, the different manufacturing stages, pre-material solution analysis, material solution analysis, which is MSA, technology development, engineering and manufacturing development, and then production and deployment. And you can see the corresponding MRLs and the colors associated with each, and then the related TRLs. So being able to transition up through the MRLs, also expect to transition the TRLs up. So additional information associated with this, TRLs cannot lag an MRL. The technology has to be at a minimum of the lowest MRL that has been identified, meaning the technology cannot be immature to the point where you cannot manufacture the component or assembly. So hopefully that makes sense. We're going to go into this a little bit more, but if there are specific questions associated with me providing a little bit of clarity there, we can absolutely dig into it. So questions about MRL and TRL? I can address those now. We'll pause for a couple uncomfortable seconds so we can get folks to come off mute or hit the chat or what have you.
Absolutely, yeah. Feel free to come off mute again. Type it in the chat, whichever is best for you. Give Brian a chance to get some water and ready to move on as well.
So if no one has any questions, I have a question for the group. What does an MRA identify? And that is for the group. You can type it in the chat. You can come off mute. You can what have you.
And don't worry, we won't give any grades.
No report cards. Everybody's an A student.
It identifies the level of maturity of manufacturing capability.
It does. In addition to identifying risk within manufacturing capability. So awesome answer.
Weakness in a process.
Yes, absolutely. That as well. Okay.
And feel free to continue on there, Brian.
Okay, long and uncomfortable enough. I get it. All right, moving on. So essentially there are 9 threads or areas of investigation within an MRA. So you can see listed A through I. So technology and industrial base. So technical maturity, TRLs, understanding the technical capability of the industrial base to be able to create the component or assembly. And manufacturing technology development, looking forward, what does that look like? How are we going to do it better from a technology and industrial based perspective? Design. So design and design maturity means different things to different companies and individuals. So understanding design for manufacture, understanding a complete and released TDP or technical data package. Can we do make versus buy and have enough technical data to where we can shop around to potential subcontractors to create things cheaper, better, faster in volumes we need, because that may not be a strength that we have. Also, cost and funding. So production cost knowledge, cost modeling, understanding where your price breaks may be, understanding the different suppliers and their costs associated with that, in addition to manufacturing investment budget. So do we have enough money to carry it on to the next MRL level? Progress the manufacturing to the next MRL level. Progress the manufacturing so that we can eliminate risk. Next is materials. So material availability, just in a general sense, is there enough steel? Is there enough aluminum, enough plastic in the type that you need? Have we developed the material to the point where it is mature enough? We may have some new whiz-bang unobtainium material that can check all the boxes associated with the technical data package, but it can't be made in something other than a laboratory setting, or it can't be made in the quantities that are required for your production or your yields and rates. So special handling also needs to be considered here. Is it heavy? Is it light? Is it radioactive? All of those types of things. So understanding special handling requirements from the essentially ground that has been mined from, if that's the case, to getting to your facility. So special handling throughout that entire supply chain. Process capability and control. So modeling and simulation of your processes. And a lot of people default to, I need to see that on a screen, a digital version of what I'm doing on the screen. That's not necessarily the case. Modeling and simulation, you can actually go into a room with tape on the floor just to ensure that you have the space required to assemble the thing or manufacture the thing, whatever the thing is. People can move, your processes can support the movement of raw materials, all of those types of things. And then understanding process maturity, yields, and rates. So do we have enough space? Do we not have enough people? Do we have enough floor space, just clearances, what have you, to be able to make the quantities that we need to make? The next is quality management. So understanding how we manage that quality, either internally through inspection, all of those types of things. ISO may come into play here. Understanding your supplier qualities, what their supplier management and quality management looks like, and it being able to define the product quality initially bodes well for understanding how to inspect it or making sure that you have a good one. Next is manufacturing workforce. It is just that, understanding that you have the talent to be able to create your assembly or component. So a good litmus test for this is, could you write a job description for an individual to do the work that you need to do? If that is the case, then you probably have a good idea of what type of individual you need, but also you need to understand the numbers of people that may be required to create your low rate initial production or full rate production. Next is facility. So understanding square footage, floor space, all those types of things, and any special tooling and equipment or special inspection equipment that may be required to safely move, safely inspect the parts that you will be making. I like to give this example. If you were creating large metal spheres, you're going to need something to cart those around within a facility, and as opposed to rolling them around, which would be unsafe, damage the part, all those types of things. So within facilities, and it is included tooling. So do you need special tooling to create the part that you'll be utilizing in an assembly? And then lastly is manufacturing management. So planning and understanding when I hit the button that I need an assembly or a part, all the planning associated with getting that. So scheduling components, parts, all of those types of things to get into the facility, movement within the facility, utilization, WIP, work in progress, materials planning, and then shipping, all of those types of things are considered in the manufacturing management area. In addition to manufacturing operational technology, or OT cybersecurity. So CMMC, if you're familiar with those terminology, understanding that your manufacturing facility has data security plans in place. If there are any additional information needed for the cybersecurity portion, we do have some CMMC individuals here, a team here at NCDMM to kind of walk you through that process. Okay, why should you consider conducting an MRA? So history has shown, and this was originally why AFIT developed this process, the Air Force developed this process. They found that immature manufacturing processes generally cost more, lower quality, unreliable scheduled delivery, inconsistent performance, and lower reliability. None of those are good for customers, in particular our military customers and our war fighters. Assessing the manufacturing maturity of a technology and product and plans for its future maturation. That is another reason why you should consider an MRA. So that forward-looking understanding of where we can go with manufacturing processes to reduce risk, increase quality, all of those metrics. So to restate everything, understanding the level of manufacturing risk and then transition the technology into a system or application. So once again, MRAs are designed to complement TRLs. They're designed to help set agenda for manufacturing risk mitigation. And they essentially establish an expectation of achieving manufacturing maturity at critical decision points. Just remember that graphic that we saw several slides ago. So what an MRA is not. It is not a report card. It is not a pass-fail. It's not ABC. It is a current snapshot and attempting to understand manufacturing risk at your facility for your products. It is not an audit. It is not a shall do. There are some risks that can be acceptable, but now we know what they are. And essentially, it's not calling your baby ugly. So, I get to go into manufacturing facilities and through transparency, all the bumps and warts come out. It's not calling your baby ugly. There's lots of folks out there just knocking it out of the park through sheer will and determination. We're just looking to transition that into a more optimized workforce or optimized work, our manufacturing facility. Who should conduct an MRA? Remember, we're looking at risk, right? Any individual or company that's interested in identifying and understanding manufacturing risk for their product assembly in their facility, what have you. And having the ability or providing the ability to understand next steps. I've had that, stated to me in the past doing MRAs. It's great to see, that looking forward, what the next step could be. And in fact, the individual that brought that to my attention is sitting in the room here with me today. So. And then it's a product or assembly agnostic process. You could be making ice cream cones, missiles, airplanes. We can use the same process to go through that. Some are better suited than others, but you can utilize the same process to go through there. And understanding how to navigate the progression, reduction of risk from a good idea, napkin sketch, the whole way through full rate production or FRP. And it's also a good understanding to be provided to any funding agents. And I said this previously, but if you're engaging with the DoD for funding and are able to tell them what manufacturing readiness level you are currently sitting, in addition with provide them mitigation strategies to get where essentially they may want you to be or where you want to be, that bodes extremely well for that conversation and getting engaged with the DoD for funding. Why an MRA? It encourages good decision making by understanding, where we can allocate assets and transition technology to production. So MRLs, you can go backward. And examples of where you can go backward are, hey, MRL number, a low number may be okay. It's a risk that we can accept. MRL transition can quickly transition. So if you have new manufacturing processes, whether it be layouts on your production floor, you're instituting a different type of manufacturing technology, those processes may be in development. It's an acceptable risk for you at that point. And then a more common, the most common acceptable or acceptable example is replacing a manual process with an automated process. So when you transition to, the human being doing the thing, and then you have to integrate, or maybe you're putting cobots, or you're doing a fully automated process. The transition is a culture change. Two, it never really works 100%. There's always a learning curve associated with the new automated process. So by integrating the automated process, it will eventually increase your yields, quality, all of those types of things. But it can be a struggle in the beginning. So that can knock your MRL down, but it'll quickly transition up. So a lot of individuals, companies that I've interfaced with in the past, they feel that their goal is to be at MRL 10. First of all, there is no one singular goal for all manufacturing. But their goal is always, we want to be at MRL 10 or full rate production, FRP. You may not have the quantities that are statistically relevant quantities to be able to achieve MRL 10. And that's okay. An example can be somebody making large tooling for stamping dies. It's extremely high mix, extremely low volume, 1 or 2 a year, and they're doing thousands of different parts. But having an understanding of the parallel processes associated with each one of those gives you a more holistic understanding of what your manufacturing readiness level would be, in addition to understanding that it is actually a lower risk. So what is needed to conduct an MRA? First and foremost, a company's willingness and active engagement. So, just starting that conversation and being open to that conversation. It's good to have a subject matter expert on both sides of the table. So we can provide that on our side, and maybe it is a learning for your side. That's okay. That works as well. Collaborative and transparent communication. Remember, this is not an audit. We're not in here to tell you your baby's ugly. That's not it. We just want to give you a solid understanding of your current manufacturing and any risks associated with transition to higher level of readiness. And it's good to have representation from design, engineering, finance, manufacturing planning, etc. And that can all be kind of hammered out in the initial conversations. So I'll pause there. That was the longest amount of slides in the presentation. So can I stop here and address any or provide any specific understanding into the who, what, and why? Anyone on the phone, feel free to chime in. Did we lose everybody?
No,
So hi.
There we go. Yep, go ahead.
Okay. I'll jump in. Hi, this is Steve. And you touched on it a little bit. Could you elaborate a little more on the, we're a small, medium-sized manufacturer, that low volume, high value, and how to overcome some resistance to this feeling like a massive amount of overhead. And you can kind of smirking on that one. Yeah, like shouldn't we be putting the work in the process, not talking about the process?
So I'll touch on a little bit. Everybody's situation is different, right?
Yeah.
I think providing you awareness just through conversation, awareness of the art of the possible within your facility can provide you insight into how and where you can optimize to meet that high mix, low volume. That's becoming more of a more common than not, right? We love small mediums. I mean, we deal with small mediums all the time. Much more dynamic, just a lot of fun to work with companies like yours. So if you're interested in having specific conversations associated with like specific needs, I can't really give you anything but a general answer. But we can definitely, have conversations associated with that.
Okay, but definitely something you've seen done before.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I have.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you for the question. Sorry, I couldn't be more specific.
No, I couldn't be specific either. It's all good. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Anyone else on the line? I guess people not on the line wouldn't be able to ask a question. So,
Pretty valid point.
okay,
Awesome. Feel free to continue on.
perfect. All right, so I touched on scorecard, MRA. So we're going to go into the MRA, the kind of the nuts and bolts, going through the process, that kind of thing. So these are one of the outputs that I would provide if I was going to a facility and we would do an MRA. This is something that you would get. This is a thread and subthread scorecard is what we'll call it, right? So we have already gone through all of those 600 questions or the pertinent amount of questions, and we have identified an MRL level associated with both the thread, which are the ones on the left, and then the subthreads, which are the 8.1s, 8.2s on the right-hand side. So what this does is this gives you an understanding of where you may have quick wins associated with elevating your manufacturing readiness level in these specific threads, A through I. So if you look at the E, process capability and control, in that dark blue, you'll see one of those is rated as a 7 and the other is at a 4. So if we understood a little bit better manufacturing process maturity and process yields and rates, we would elevate that process capability and control fairly easily or without a whole lot of blood, sweat, and tears. So there's a lot more going on here than that, but this gives you a good snapshot and understanding of how the scorecard would come out. And this is just one component that would be included in an MRA and reporting. So the next bullet point, report indicating methods, areas of opportunity. So within each one of those threads, we can give you insight based upon our experience or dealing with that type of score previously in similar manufacturing environments of where you could inject technology, just optimize that through things as simple as changing your programming on your CNC machine, those types of things. So not necessarily high lift or heavy lift, but just a report indicating the methods and areas of opportunity. We could also provide mitigation strategies associated with elevating or progressing your MRL level. And then just in general, give next steps and guidance associated with that manufacturing progression and reduction of risk. So the MRA planning process, so these would be the nuts and bolts. This is what it would look like. So if it was me doing the MRA, and we do have about a dozen folks here at NCDMM that have been trained by the Air Force Institute of Technology. So, it doesn't need to be me. It can be me. I love doing this. So I hope it's me. But so first would be a conversation, fact-finding conversation to determine what's being assessed. So we need to pick a part or an assembly or something like that, and we're going to talk about what that is. Next step would be a pre-MRA. To determine the assessment level. So you need to assess at a certain level. So typically, good ideas, pre-production prototypes, we'd assess you at a 4 and then understand based upon questioning if you are higher than a 4 or lower than a 4. And then if it's required, we can go into your suppliers, but we need to have conversations with those. I would suggest that if we were going to do that, we would prioritize critical suppliers, critical to your manufacturing operations, whether it be raw material or sub-assemblies or just subcontractors in general, and have conversations associated with them to provide an understanding of what an MRA is, what the scope of the MRA would be, the method that we would be utilizing, and those types of things. And then understand an execution plan. Just be much more specific with them because they would be coming in at a later time. And then finally, we would execute the MRA, typically on site. Actually, I should not use typically there. I preferred on site with the required personnel either present or available. Timeline associated or time requirement associated with that activity is about 2 days, plus or minus. I've been as little as 1 day, but there was a lot of pre-MRA activity that was conducted and has been as many as 4 days. And follow-up may be required. So once we go through the MRA, get a good understanding of what's going on, where we are, there needs to be proof associated with an answer of yes for a question. The follow-up may be, hey, we have that information. It's just not in a good singular document that we can provide to you. So we may have to develop that document. And then we would define the MRL, create the reporting to include that scorecard, mitigation strategies if required. And then we can actually come back after the fact and measure the effectiveness of those mitigation strategies, at a later date. So essentially, hey, this is a mitigation strategy. We went through it. We come back, reassess. Your MRL level went up. High five. We call it good. But this is an iterative process as well, and I can't stress that enough. So once you get your personnel involved in this method of thinking, it's going to be just so much easier, so much more progressive. It will actually change the culture in some instances. So we have the 4 questions that were posed in the beginning. I'll go through those now. So how do or can MRAs identify hidden opportunities for optimization in already successful processes? Based upon the slides that we have gone through here this afternoon or morning, depending upon where you're sitting right now. So we identify risk. It's through a detailed assessment of manufacturing risk that it can highlight, 1, the art of the possible. Like other folks in the environment that doing something similar to you, understanding optimization, understanding automation, understanding, additional supply chain or reducing supply chain risk, all of those types of things. You can understand areas, areas prime for optimization. So once again, those lower sub-thread scores, by adding some resources there, whether it be money or time or what have you, even understanding, we can optimize those and get that MRL level up. Understand where your process bottlenecks may be. It may be quality, maybe some manufacturing management process that we didn't understand we didn't have. Understand your vendor risk by going and executing an MRA at one tier into your subcontractors or your sub-suppliers. And then quality risks. Understanding, how automation, optimization can really provide a higher quality product without the sheer will and determination that is sometimes seen in small and medium-sized manufacturers. And it, to be honest, that last line, third-party perspective never hurts. Just to provide an understanding of provide areas where you may not know what you don't know what you don't know. So providing that third-party exposure to those manufacturing optimization can in itself be key. So practical steps to increase efficiency, streamline workflows, and reduce costs. So it is a structured method to identify areas of opportunity and reduce risk. So elevated areas of risk, such as sole source supply, DMSMS, which is just diminishing material supply and material shortage. So understanding that you may not be able to get the things that you need to have to create your assembly or product. And going into that and assessing that eyes wide open, just being able to create mitigation strategies, whether it be a secondary supply, a tertiary supply, or maybe it requires a redesign. A structured method to identify process bottlenecks. So workforce challenges, development of business case for optimization and funding challenges, just understanding where those processes may have risk associated with that and creation of those bottlenecks or elimination of those bottlenecks, better stated. Strategic insights for proactively managing manufacturing risks and supply chain dependencies. Once again, supply chain, understanding sole source supply, understanding foreign supply dependencies. So once you go down, more often than not, material supply, you get it from somebody that's local to you, they get it from somebody on the California coast, and it has been shipped here from a country that's not friendly to us. Understanding that entire supply chain associated with raw materials and parts is key to eliminating risk within manufacturing. Supply chain awareness and/or analysis. I just stated that. just understanding from essentially if it's a raw material from the ground to your manufacturing facility, what does that look like? Are there alternate methods and means of supply? And procurement based upon best value. Having a primary, secondary, and tertiary supply, tying into that last bullet point, can give you an understanding of best value. So we all understand procurement, and we have folks that we get things from that, okay, their price is a little high, but their quality is just 100% all the time, or their delivery is 100% all the time, as opposed to somebody that is lower cost and their delivery is questionable. So just understanding procurement based upon best value and all the intangibles associated with that procurement. And then our last question was how to prepare your process, workforce, and facilities for growth and evolving industry demands. I guess that's not really a question, that's a statement. So how would we do that? So by transitioning into the MRA mindset or manufacturing readiness level mindset, you can transition into a proactive risk-reducing manufacturing facility. So having that forward-looking understanding on your production floor will just have all of the risks just bubble to the top. Reducing dependency on sheer will and determination to meet deliverables and quality metrics. We've all, worked at a place, maybe we work at that place now, that through sheer will and determination, we get the job done. We're customer focused, and I've heard this stated many different ways, but it is just, one example was a facility I've been to, they had tens of thousands of square feet, but everything happened in a room that was 12 by 12. And they were pretty happy about that. So that's sheer will and determination. Develop and understand best-in-class manufacturing for your products. Once again, you don't know what you don't know. Going through this process is going to inevitably highlight areas that you will understand. I do it this way now. I know there's a better way. Let's go research and understand what the better way is. And then obtaining and understanding what are my next steps. How do I get from where I am, whether it be the sheer will and determination perspective or location, or the MRL3, I have a good idea. I made a pre-production prototype, lab prototype. What are my next steps to get that into production? Whatever that looks like for me, wherever my end goal may be. So when should I consider having an MRA? Everybody, I contact folks contact me, and they're like, wow, I feel like we're really early in the process. If you have a component that you have something put together or have an idea that you have put together, the best time to start was yesterday, and the next best time is now. So just starting to have those conversations and understanding what manufacturability looks like, what technology improvement looks like, what optimization looks like. It is just great to have that forward-thinking mindset as early on in the process and manufacturing optimization or manufacturing journey that you can.
Yeah, Brian, we've got a question in the chat for you.
Sure.
From Frank Gibson. How does the MRA specifically identify workforce challenges? Are there specific questions asked? Observation of internal training systems, tracking human capital capacity, or other?
So that is, it is all of those things. So one question that I typically ask is, how many do you want to make, or how many do you need to make? Okay, then what are your yields and rates? So those don't always coincide, right? So what type of workforce do you need to increase your quality and provide the rates that are required to satisfy your customer? So it can be workforce training, whether it be technical requirements. A good example is a welder, providing, getting that workforce from a external training source. Are we going to go through an apprenticeship to get those folks trained up here? Do we have assembly instructions to be able to train those that workforce that are going to be required? I can go down, just as any one of these, I can kind of go down a path with any one of these threads. So is that answering your question? Has that answered your question?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you, Frank. Appreciate it.
Oh,
Anybody
you're
else has
very-
any questions? Throw them in the chat. Come off mute. Feel free to jump in. We've got about 5 minutes left, Brian, for your reference. And if anybody has questions that have collectively come up throughout the presentation, make sure you get those in the chat or come off mute and go ahead and ask directly.
So what I'll do is I'll move to the last slide. So this is just the same slide was at the beginning of the presentation. So you should know who NCDMM is to a limited extent, high level. What is an MRA and what it is not, and how it may help you. And then the 4 questions that we just went through in the last 4 slides. And then questions here, that is my email address. If you forget or can't find that or lose that, you can reach out to me via our website at ncdmm.org. But I encourage you reaching out. Phone calls are free. Reach out to me. Like really interested in elevating manufacturing in the U.S. I've been doing it for quite a number of years. It's one of the very fun parts of my job is coming out and talking to small and mediums and getting an understanding of how we can help alleviate some of their manufacturing risk and provide them with understanding how to optimize their operations. Any other questions,
yeah.
comments, concerns?
Brian, are we going to share this presentation or recording anywhere?
We are. I believe it's going to be posted out on our LinkedIn site and potentially linked to our ncdmm.org website.
Yep.
Lots of uncomfortable silence. I really appreciate everyone's time. Everyone dialing in. If any questions come up after the fact, feel free to reach out to me. I tell all my project teams, you can struggle, just don't struggle too long. We can help you. I mean, if it's just a case of I have a legacy problem and I need somebody to do something as far as a manufacturing capability or something like that, give me a call. I probably have one of those I'm going to date myself now, in my Rolodex. But yeah, feel free to reach out. Looking forward to hearing from anyone.
Absolutely. And just for everybody's reference, if you need a copy pastable version of Brian's email, I put his and mine in the chat there. So feel free to reach out to us and we'll, connect some dots wherever you need them.
Perfect, everyone. Well, have a great rest of your day, rest of the week, and hopefully we get to assist you on your manufacturing journey. So appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Thanks, everybody. We appreciate it. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much.
Very welcome.
Brian, I'm going to end the meeting, so it's going to kick you out.
Perfect.